Shalom friends, welcome to this Parsha Insight lesson. Today we're going to be learning about Parshat Devarim. This is the fifth book of the Torah and it is the first Parsha in the fifth book. Now the Parsha begins with the following statement that I'm about to read, and from there afterwards we're going to see a wonderful insight into understanding exactly the concept of how the Parsha begins. I'm going to read the first sentence of the Parsha. It says, Ele hadvarim asher diber Moshe el kol Yisrael. These are the words that Moshe spoke to all the Jewish people, be'ever hayarden, on the other side of the Jordan, b'midbar, in the desert, ba'arava, in the Arava, Mul Suf, this is opposite Suf, Bein Paran uvein Tofel, between Paran and Tofel, Velavan v'Chatzeros v'Dizahav, and also Lavan and Chatzerot and Dizahav. These are the different names of the places over there. The Parsha begins by saying that these are the words that Moshe spoke to the children of Israel. Everything in the Torah has a value to it. Nothing is there for no reason. The Parsha begins, and the entire book of Devarim begin with the concept of the word Devarim. Ele Devarim. These are the words that Moshe spoke. The Parsha introduces us to a powerful concept. It is the power of words. At this point in time, Moshe is about to relate over the repetition of the entire Torah to the children of Israel. The children of Israel have gone through a mighty journey. They have been enslaved. They have been freed. They have gone through a journey in the desert of 40 years. There they experienced much strife, many challenges, difficulties, and of course much growth. Most of the Jewish people had died out, of course, in the desert, and this was a whole new generation that was coming into the land of Israel. And this was the whole purpose, basically, of what God wanted for the Jewish people ever since the world had been created. When we start with Adam and Eve, we went down to ultimately all the way down to Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and the 70 children, the 70 descendants who go down into Egypt, and that's where they're enslaved, and then they come out and they're going to Israel. This is the land that God has promised towards the Jewish people. And along the way, the Torah is given to the Jewish people, and this directs the Jewish people in what they need to do and achieve throughout all the generations. Moshe is about to die very shortly. It's not in a moment or two, just after about a month of time after he begins his speech. It was a very long speech. And when he completed his speech, he dies and he hands over the Torah to Joshua, and Joshua takes the Jewish people into the land of Israel. Now, the Parsha begins that these are the words. There is a full circle. The Torah comes full circle at this point in time from the beginning of the Torah beginning when it says that God created the world. How did God create the world? It says, Vayomer Hashem yehi or, vayehi or. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God said, let there be this. And there was that. Because in Parshat Devarim, we're coming to learn the value of words. Words are mystical in their nature. Words are powerful in their nature. Words create. And these are the powerful words that Moshe is giving towards the Jewish people to live their lives for the rest of all the generations to follow. That includes you and I in this generation. The words in the Torah are going to carry us through into the way that we have to behave even in today's times. This is the power of words. Words create. Words are energy. Letters are energy. God created the system of letters in his design of creation. And with the power of the letter, he invested in energy to cause a reaction to take place in this world. That when God said the words, Vayomer Hashem yehi or, let there be light, the whole of existence came about. Boom! There was light in existence. Words are so powerful that they create. Perhaps the most mystical text that we have, the first real text that we have in terms of the world of mysticism in Kabbalah, is the Sefer Yetzirah, the book of creation. Now, this book of creation, which is said to go back to Avraham Avinu, that he was the one responsible for writing it. This is the tradition that we have. He wrote it. includes within it the system of creation. And in it, we speak about the mysteries of the letters of the Aleph-Beis. The power of energy invested in the letters of the Aleph-Beis can create anything in existence. It was known that the Maharal of Prague, the great rabbi of the 16th century, that when the Jewish people were in need of assistance, the tradition goes that he created a golem. Now, this golem was created by means of making use of the Sefer Yetzirah. The Sefer Yetzirah tells us how to use the letters, how to combine them. Aleph with Beit, Beit with Aleph. Aleph with Gimmel, Gimmel with Aleph. Beit with Gimmel, Gimmel with Beit. And as we begin to combine the letters in different ways, we are able to produce results of existence in this world. The Sefer Yetzirah is the book that points out the famous saying that is known not only in the Jewish world, of course, but also in the non-Jewish world. When magicians begin their magic tricks, everybody says like this. He takes his magic wand and he says, Abracadabra, simsalabim, boom. And all of a sudden, the rabbit bounces out of a hat. The words Abracadabra are not just words of a magic nature that some magician invented, but rather, the words are actually Aramaic, Avracadabra. Avra, which means bara, to create. I will create, kadabra, as I speak. When a person speaks, he creates something into existence. The power of the energy of the letter causes a change in existence, and something comes into the world as a result of that energy. It is not for nothing that the letters are designed as they are. As the Talmud tells us, for example, and the Midrash tells us, if we take a look at the letter Beit, and we see that there's a crown on top of it pointing upwards, and then there is a crown on the side, or depending on how we understand the Midrash, the heel of the Beit pointing towards the Aleph, exiting on the right side towards the Aleph. And the Midrash says, we ask the Beit, who created you? And the Beit points upwards with its tug, with its crown into the sky, and he says, the one above created me. And the Midrash says, and what is his name? And so he takes his other tug, he takes his other crown on the other side, and he points to the Aleph, and he says it was the Aleph, the Echad, that created me, the one of all existence. That is the mystery between the Beit and the Aleph. Now, when we take a look at the Aleph, for example, we notice that the Aleph is made up of a Vav, which extends in the middle of the Aleph, a Yud on top and a Yud on the bottom. The numerical value of the Vav is 6, the numerical value of the Yud on top is 10, and the numerical value of the Yud on the bottom is also 10. 10 plus 10 plus 6 equals 26. This is the numerical value of God's name, Yud K Vav K. Yud's 10, Hey Vav, Hey 5, Vav 6, Hey 10. So we have 10 plus 5, 15, plus 6, 21, plus Hey 5, 26. So we take a look at the Aleph, and within the Aleph we see God embedded, hidden inside the letter itself. The energy and power of the Aleph is the name of God. When we go to the Gimmel, as the Gemara tells us, you'll notice that the Gimmel has 2 legs. One leg kind of extends outwards with the other leg backwards. And it extended towards the letter Dalid, which is facing it on the left side. Question, the Gemara asks, why is the leg of the Gimmel extended towards the Dalid? Because the Gimmel is the letter which represents giving. Gimel, Gimel, it relates to giving. Dalid, on the other hand, relates to Dal, which is poor. The Dalid is a letter of poverty. The Dalid represents the poor person. And the Gimmel represents the wealthy person. And the wealthy person extends his leg outwards. He extends his giving to the Dalid because the Dalid needs. Why is the Dalid positioned by the Gimmel? Because in order for the poor man to benefit, he needs to be close to the wealthy man. Once he's close to the wealthy man can give him. He needs to be in his vicinity. So the Gimmel extends its leg and says, I'll give to you, Dalid. And the Dalid says, thank you very much, I'll be by you. But why is the head of the Dalid faced towards the Hay and not towards the Gimmel? Because the Dalid is embarrassed. The poor person is embarrassed. We see over here that the energy of the letter is sharing with us what the letter really is. The Gimmel gives to the Dalid The Dalid stays by the Gimmel. And the letter Hey, the Gemara says, why is the letter Hey open on the bottom? Because the Hey represents the opening for the evil people of the world. That if they do wrong, they fall down into Gehenna. They fall down into the pit. So the Gemara says, and therefore why is it open on the side, on the top? To tell the evil person, if he wishes to do teshuvah, he may enter again from the top. Not only that, but when he will enter into the top, he will even receive a crown on the top left side of the hay. He will receive a crown for the teshuvah that he does. The stories I'm sharing here are to illustrate the power of energy in the letters, to illustrate the power of words. Abracadabra, I create when I speak. Moshe was teaching a secret to the Jewish people. The words that one says are powerful. We can affect changes in all of existence with the words that we recite. When God created the world, he used words and light came into existence. And the waters came into existence and everything came into existence from the power of God's words. The whole Torah is the words of God. And when we begin to implement these words correctly, we fulfill the task that we are here for. And what do we need to learn from this? We need to learn the power of our words when we speak to others. Many people don't realize it. We have a concept, for example, of just speaking out whatever it is that we want to say, whenever we want to say it. But better, as they say, to put the mind into gear before putting the accelerator on the tongue. Once we're in gear, we can talk. But just to let the tongue speak out things of whatever it says, coming off vanities in one's head, is a dangerous thing. Think about the wording that one chooses, which will make all the difference in the life of another person. Imagine this, the power of words. A person stands opposite you. He says to you, you are a wonderful person. And you walk away and you say, thank you. Thank you for that wonderful compliment. It was so sincere. Now imagine another person stands next to him. He says, you are really rotten. You are such an awful person. You are so bad. You are a horror to the world. And you look at this person and your blood begins to boil. This is the power of words. What do you mean? Just a few sentences and I can change a person's life? Yes. A few sentences and a person can shoot to self-confidence. And a few sentences and you can destroy a person quite literally, that they no longer wish to be in the world, God forbid. That's the power of words. When Moshe begins this book, he teaches us the power of words. Letter Devarim asher diber Moshe. These are the words that Moshe spoke. When one speaks, one brings existence about. One brings the Torah. One brings morality. And when one chooses the wrong words, the opposite happens. This is the secret of the idea that when magic is performed, we say that we cast a spell. What does that mean? Well, this is the word that we use when we describe how we put letters together and we create a word. That is called spelling. Because indeed, when we engage in using our letters, the energy of creation, the energy of all existence in a certain way, when we begin to use the letters in a certain format, we create a spell. We spell the word. And it is that spell that causes the changes in all of existence, to ourselves, to other people, and even in the prayers that we say, bringing down divine energy into this world and bringing us blessing. The great Rabbi Avraham Abulafia of the 13th century, the great Kabbalist, who taught the ways of using the letters in meditation to reach very high levels, taught these very themes. He explains the concepts of the power of letters, and he explains as you begin to join one letter to the other and you turn it around from one side to the other, how you can change a word completely around from blessing to curse, from curse to blessing. Oneg, pleasure, can become nega, plague. Nega, plague, can become oneg, pleasure. It all depends where you put the ayin and the nun and the gimel. How are we going to express our words in the presence of others to make a difference in their lives? It was a well-known story of a certain individual, Yankee, let's call him. Well, Yankee, he had a very bad temper. He was always doing things wrong. He was always shouting at people. He was always speaking badly about people. This is a terrible thing. The Chofetz Chaim wrote an entire book on the laws of Lashon Hara, teaching us to control our mouths and not to speak about others badly. Don't even speak about them if it's the truth, because if there's any possible that it's just even a tinge of possibility of bringing up some bad point, don't say it. Don't say it. Don't cause harm to that person. Don't destroy their life. That's the power of words. That's what the Chofetz Chaim taught us. And Yankee, he had a bad temper. He was shouting at people all the time. He was speaking badly about people all the time. And news got around that he was destroying people's lives. People would lose their jobs. He would speak to the bosses, say negative things about people. He'd speak to the person's friends, turn them into enemies. For life. For life he did it. How many of us know such stories? When people speak badly about us, say the wrong things, and our lives are destroyed. They make up stories. And we can never tell the other side the real truth. It's gone forever in existence. Until perhaps when we leave this world and the truth is revealed and the embarrassment comes out to those people who spoke so badly about those other people for no reason. So Yankee used to do this. And eventually the rabbi got hold of him. He said, Yankee, what you're doing is bad stuff. You need to do teshuvah. Eventually got through to Yankee. Had all discussion with him. Yankee says, Rabbi, what must I do? The rabbi says, bring me a pillow of feathers and I will help you. He brings him a pillow of feathers. He says, Yankee, go up to the top of the hill on a windy day and I want you to take this pillow. I'm a mystic and I'm going to tell you the insight of teshuvah when you speak badly about other people. And I want you to take this pillow and shake out all the feathers of the pillow. Rabbi, how will this do the teshuvah? He says, I will explain later. You will see. I am a mekubal. I am a great mystic. And I will show you how shaking a pillow with feathers will bring you repentance. Fantastic. Nothing else, Rabbi. Nothing. Fantastic. He goes to the top of the hill. It's a windy day. He takes the pillow and he shakes it with all his might. And the feathers go flying into the air all over. Walks down the hill. Comes back to the rabbi. Rabbi, he says, I have done what you have told me. Am I forgiven? The rabbi says, almost. I wish you to go back up again to the top of that hill. And I wish for you to collect for me all the feathers that have blown about. Yankee says, there is no such thing. By now the feathers have gone all over. How can I ever gather those feathers and put them back into the pillow yet again? And the rabbi smiles. He says, this is what you do when you speak badly about other people. From one to the next, in the words in the wind flying about. Did you see this person? Did you know what he did? Did you see how he blinked his eye? Did you see how he paid 1 cent less? Did you see how he bought that sports car? Did you see how he shouted at that student? Did you see? He spoke these things all in the wind. The rabbi pointed out, you can never collect those things again. And therefore I caution you from this point onwards never to speak words of evil again, or even the truth about other people, when it is even slightly possible that those words could come to cause harm. Well, he was taken aback. Rabbi, he says, can you give me a path to work on? The great mystical rabbi says to him, yes, I will give you another path to work on. He says, what shall I do to stop my bad temper and doing all these terrible things to people and saying these terrible things? The rabbi says, do you have a fence by your house? He says, Rabbi, I have a fence. He says, every time you lose your temper, I wish for you to go and drive a nail into the fence. He says, and that's all? He says, yes, that's what you need to do. When your temper gets the better of you, drive a nail into the fence. Immediately, he goes out that day, and already the temper gets the better of him. And what does he start doing? He knocks a nail into his fence. And again, another nail. And again, another nail. Every time he loses his temper, goes back to the rabbi, tells the rabbi his story a day or two later. The rabbi says, how did you do? He says, I knocked 35 nails into the fence today. He says, try again tomorrow. Next day goes by. He knocks another 20 nails. Goes back to the rabbi. How did you do? He says, I knocked another 20. Fine. Next day, 10. Next day, 5. Next day, 0. Comes to the rabbi, says, I have done well, Rabbi. I have done everything you have asked. And I think that I am now ready to do the teshuvah. I never get angry any longer. The rabbi says, good. Now that you never get angry, we're going to do the reverse. Every time that you have the possibility of losing your temper, and you see you're not going to lose your temper, and you're not going to hurt people with your words, and you're not going to speak badly about them, I wish for you to begin clearing up the fence, and I wish for you to take out a nail. Each one of those nails that you have put into the fence, I wish you to take out one at a time. And when you have taken them all out, the real teshuvah will happen. Immediately, Yankee goes off, and as he's about to lose his temper and he overcomes it, he goes to the fence, he pulls out a nail, and he pulls out another nail, and he pulls out another nail. Eventually, he pulls out all the nails. He has controlled his temper. He doesn't speak badly about other people. He doesn't insult them anymore. He uses his words for good and blessing. He goes back to the rabbi. Rabbi, I've done what you've told me to do. What now? He says. I have a fence that looks like a mess, filled with holes. The rabbi says, yes, you have done your teshuvah, correctly so. But remember this forever, that every time that you hurt a person, even if you do your teshuvah, never forget how much hurt you have caused him. Because that hole is an impression in that person's heart. And you may do your teshuvah, and you may apologize, but rest assured, the damage that you have caused that person, and the heartache, and the hurt that you have done, is something that remains with that person forever. From what? From your words that were bad and evil. So Yankee says, third part of the story, Yankee says, Rabbi, you have taught me some wonderful lessons. I never want to encounter this again. How do you recommend that I come to correct this whole problem? Is there any remedy you can give me, and I will never come to do it again? The wise mystic rabbi, the great Kabbalist, says, I am a Kabbalist, and I have created a special concoction, a special magical potion that will stop you from ever becoming angry and ever speaking badly about somebody else again. He says, thank you, Rabbi. May I have some of this? He says it is very expensive. He tells him it's expensive amount. He sells it to him. The man pays. Yankee makes a payment for it. And he tells him, in this concoction here, which looks like pure water, but it is not. It has all sorts of spells and things going on inside it that will affect the changes that you need. Now he says, like for example, when you're with your wife, he says, you can start the procedure already. He says, now listen, every time you see when you're with your wife and she is doing something that's not so good, and already you want to feel the temptation to shout, to scream, to speak badly, whatever it is that you're going to do, the temper, the whole thing. He says, I want you to put the special concoction into your mouth. I want you to leave it in your mouth until your cheeks are wide and filled with the concoction. And then I want you to leave it there for 10 minutes, he says. 15 will be even better. Yankee says, fantastic idea. Thank you very much for this mystical potion that you have here, oh mystical rabbi, great Kabbalist. He tries it out. The first night, he's having a bad night, and his wife is causing problems with him, and he feels the need to shout. Immediately, he stops himself. He knows about the feathers. He knows about the fences and the nails. And now it's come down to working on himself. He's going to control it, and the medication is going to take care of him. He will never do this again. He puts the concoction into his mouth. As soon as he's ready to shout, as soon as he's ready to scream, puts it in. And she continues shouting at him, and she continues getting on his nerves. He leaves it in his mouth for 10, 15 minutes. Anyway, she gets tired of her shouting. She leaves. He still leaves it in his mouth for a few more minutes. And then after that, he spits it all out. Goes back to the rabbi the next day. He says, it's a wonderful, wonderful potion. He says, amazingly, I never got upset with her. This worked. It's fantastic, Rabbi. What did you do? This is a magical thing. We can sell it. We can become millionaires. We can put a patent on it. Nobody will become angry in the world ever again. Nobody will hurt anybody ever again. The rabbi says, you think that mystical is mystical. Mystical is not mystical. Everything comes down to rationality at the end of the day. All I did was provide you with some water. When you put the water in your mouth and you left it there for a period of 10, 15 minutes. So by the time the whole argument or whatever it was had ended and gave you the inspiration that you wanted to shout, by the time this whole episode had ended, you were now boiling blood inside you. You were ready to shout and scream, but you left it inside your mouth, unable to speak. And as a result, as the time went by, you were getting calmer and calmer and more relaxed. Nothing was bothering you any longer. And by the time you spit it out, of course, you don't feel anymore any of that negative energy, any of the anger, any of the need to speak. You're okay. And so the rabbi taught Yankee 3 powerful lessons that day on the power of speech. Don't speak badly about others, because whatever we say goes into the wind, and as a result, it can never return again. No matter what we say and hurt other people, we can never go back on those words that we said. They are out there. We can never gather them back in again. And when we face those people that we've spoken badly about, we can never take back those words. Number 2, when we do lose our temper, we must realize that even if we go one step further and we do the teshuvah, we repent, we say sorry, never forget that the harm has still been done. Who knows what harm still exists as a result of the terrible things that we said to the person and the terrible things that we spoke about the person. And the rabbi taught Yankee a 3rd powerful lesson. If you want to avoid getting into any trouble, keep your mouth quiet. Keep your mouth closed. Keep your tongue inside the mouth, behind 2 gates. Why is it behind 2 gates? Because the tongue is so powerful that were it not behind these gates, it would be doing the most terrible things all day. So God puts the tongue inside the gates, holding it back and telling us a lesson. Hold back your words, and you will find if you hold back your words at the moment of temptation, at the moment of anger, at the moment that juicy story comes to mind, that you just have to share with others. Look what that person did. I saw him do it. I know he did it. Hey guys, let's give him a bad name. At that point in time, we put the medication into our mouths. We say, shh, it is not necessary to say everything in the world. When we hold ourselves back, we do a lot more good most of the time than when it is when we begin to speak. Keep our mouths closed. Ele Devarim asher diber Moshe. These are the words that Moshe spoke. The whole book, the 5th book of the Torah, is all about words. It is a book that says words are powerful. The whole Torah is powerful. And if you want to create a world, master your language. Because God, who is the master of all language, used these very words, this very energy, to create the entire world. What a beautiful lesson we can take with us into our lives from this point onwards. Guard our tongues. Use the tongue for good. Praise where necessary. Build up a person's self-confidence. Give them the strength that they need to cope with life and to be successful with life. Never speak badly about another person. Be careful about judging their situation and relating that over to other people, because rest assured, such behavior can destroy them. But again, let's not leave on a bad note. Let us leave on that positive note. The positive note is we have the power of words. We have the power of magic. We have the power of the spell. We have the power of the Abracadabra that we can create as we speak. And every time that we do this, every encounter that we have with another person, we need to remember these 3 beautiful stories. We need to remember that we can make the difference in a positive way in the lives of others. And should it ever be that we catch ourselves out doing the opposite, let us bring those stories to attention, into our minds, and realize the damage that we can cause another person. Indeed, life and death are in the power of the tongue. And no matter how small a person you are, no matter how great a person you are, you have the ability to change the lives of others forever for good, simply by the good words that you say. A good word can bring somebody a job. A good word can bring charity to another in need. A good word can uplift a person when he's feeling at his most vulnerable stage in life. Words are the power of life, the creative force and energy of all creation. This is really what makes the world go round and make things happen as they do in our lives. That power you hold in your tongue as much as I hold it in my tongue. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope that you've enjoyed this lesson, got something out of it. If you have, use your tongue for good and share this lesson with other people. Share my own videos with other people also in my channel, because by doing so, you're helping me to spread the word of Torah and to spread the things that I share and teach as well. Of course, if you'd like to learn Torah with me one-on-one, please visit my website. I'm Eliyahu Shear. My website, www.lovingkindness.co. And I'd be happy to be in touch with you and to learn some Torah with you on any subject that you'd like to. I'm also happy to discuss life and growth and anything that's on your mind that's just getting you down, or that you just want somebody to speak to, just to get some advice and some spiritual energy to carry on and to deal with all the tests and challenges that we go through. For those who are interested in learning Safrut, I'm also a teacher for those who wish to learn how to write mezuzot and tefillin and the Sefer Yetzirah, etc. And if you're a young man or even older and you haven't yet learned the laws of family purity and you'd like to learn more about what's involved in the beautiful laws involved in sexual purity and family purity, nida, etc., please be in touch. I'm also a teacher in this area, and of course in any other area of Torah. Whatever book you'd like to learn, on the revealed side of Torah, on the hidden side of Torah, you pick a text and we'll sit down and learn it. Thanks very much for joining me. I wish you everything of the best, and I look forward to another shiur very, very soon. Take care. Shalom, shalom. Bye-bye.